All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army, episode 2.263. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start out with headlines where we will discuss Club World Cup, the Bayern managerial search, and Jesse Marsch. Weekly What If, the greatest game never played. Premier League, we will talk quickly about the weekend that was, but then we're going to focus mostly on the week that comes, right in front of us. Starting on Tuesday, Spurs and City that could decide the title race, as we said all along. Title, Spurs, we're just in the mix, not really involved, but in the mix. And then, of course, we'll talk about the permutations coming off of that game. Around the world, the punch heard but not seen round MLS and championship playoff. And then finally, stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets, Maupay's shithousery, and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's beauty due to some travel conflicts. He's holding it down solo with me this week. A Tweedle who needs no introduction, but we'll give him one anyway. Mr. Mitchell Goulet, a.k.a. Overtime Mitch. So I opened TikTok for the first time in God knows how long the other day. And I think it was on Friday, I was bombarded by a bunch of people talking about the thirsty hamster. And I need from you either an explanation or an apology on behalf of actual TikTok users about what this trend is. Do you know what I'm even talking about?
I'm sorry, I have no idea.
It's
Is it a
this.
euphemism for something?
Yes, it is. It's like these people. Listen, I would be worried about this. This is like my search has somehow led me to this, but like I'm never on TikTok, and the only time I'm ever on TikTok is like searching some sort of soccer highlight that I'm looking for, like a fan video. So it was all these. I mean, thirsty is a good. It's good that there's thirsty in the word. It's a bunch of women that like we're talking about. You gotta have a sunroof, and then like their significant other would be laying on top of the you just looked it
No,
up.
so I'm kind of putting some two and two together. Why the fuck? One, would I know about that? Two, would you just assume that that's like, oh, the kids are into it these days?
That's the thing. It
This is a
wasn't even the
direct
kids. I
reflection
can't
of
blame the
your search
kids.
history.
These are like old, adults talking about and it just, I don't understand TikTok. I do not. Is TikTok, I've been told for so long, TikTok is the platform, Instagram's dying, well, for sure Twitter's dying. Instagram just not as, the growth isn't there. TikTok is where the growth is. This is the biggest platform. Is that true?
I think there's a bunch of different corners of TikTok. You found yourself in a really interesting one.
Interesting is
TikTok,
a word.
it's a phenomenal platform to grow your audience as a creator and as a brand, but it's very easy to get, call it sidetracked into the little areas of the internet that you seem to find yourself in all too often.
I swear I don't find these nooks and crannies that often, but
All right.
I don't know how this came up. Like for me, as somebody who's like been searching nothing but soccer house. Anyway, I hope I didn't. I don't know. Figure, bring this upon myself somehow. They're like, searching inside my brain. Those damn Chinese. They know what they're doing over there.
Yeah, they get the chip inside your head, and they know who they're marketing that to.
I
They
guess
knew as
so.
soon
I
as you
guess
opened
so.
that app that all right, we got a little bit of a freak here. Let's feed this content.
I mean, like I got my car does have a sunroof, so I was like, did they hear us talking about a sunroof? I don't know. Anyway, this is
I'll say
just.
this: they are listening.
Oh yeah.
I was talking to my friend once, and we were hanging out with my dog, and he had this toy. It's a red star, and he had torn it to shreds. So I was talking to my friend about how I wanted to get a new red star for him, and then like a half hour later, I'm on TikTok and I see ads, which I've never seen before, for or videos for Red Star Belgrade, the football team. And I was like, you're close.
Close.
You're
They
almost
try.
there. I was looking for dog toys, but like I get where your head's at.
It
Um,
was good effort. It was good
yeah,
effort.
yeah, but it's they're connected.
Oh, I know exactly, like, but the thing about this is that I actually see things I swear I've never even talked about or email, written any emails about. It's just stuff in my brain. Like in the last couple weeks, what was it? Something about beard trimmers or something came up because just in my brain I was like, okay, I probably got to get a new beard trimmer somewhere because I've had it for like a decade. and they just started showing up, like all these beard trimmers. It's like they're in my brain. They are in my brain, and
Really.
apparently they knew that I was the perfect, person to show the thirsty hamster trying to do. Okay, let's move on and hopefully up in the world here. We will move on to headlines. So the first thing, we've been talking about the Club World Cup that FIFA is going to put on next year, 2025, here in the US. So, there's reason to be excited about that. Well, maybe not. We'll see. So two players organizations, FIFA Pro and the World League Association, which I believe covers the Premier League, they sent a letter to FIFA saying that they are taking legal action and demanding that the Club World Cup be rescheduled. And of course, the rationale is, the stuff that we've been talking about all along. The schedule is just too saturated, too many games. The chances for injury is too high, and they just don't want this to happen then. Huh, all right. Well, just as I was starting to get kind of excited about the Club World Cup, maybe it won't happen. I'm not really sure what to think. I'm because usually you sort of look at something like this and be like, okay, well, this is what they're saying they'll take legal action and they want to reschedule, but really what they want is X, usually it's a bigger slice of the pie, right? I don't see how that's a possibility here. So I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about this.
The stupid reason to want to, I mean, for that, with that logic, you should cancel practice and friendlies and
Yeah,
scrimmaging within,
right.
inter squad scrimmages. You can get hurt at any occasion. You can be fatigued with anything. That's a really weird reason for them to give. I don't know. I don't know what their other motives are, though.
Yeah, I can't really. I don't know. I couldn't see what is at the base of this, and then it got me thinking, like okay, yeah, we're used to soccer players wanting and getting and 3 months off, essentially two, maybe more like 2 months off. Is that even too much? Maybe 1 month, I guess, with these international tours. I guess it's getting shrunk and shrunk and
Yeah.
shrunk. But at the same time, I know they work hard and everything, but the reason they get paid so well is not because they work so hard. There's a lot of people out there that work very hard and very demanding, physically demanding jobs. So it's more about the pressure that they're under and the microscope and the fact that their lives are sort of really we know everything about them and they're in the public eye and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, do they really need like that much time off in the summer? I mean, I don't know. This is a totally tangential issue, but it sort of got me thinking that no, I don't think they do. I think a lot of people
Oh,
have demanding jobs.
I would agree with that. I think the players that are paid these millions and gazillions of dollars and are able to take these, I don't know, one-ish month vacations, like it's deserved. A season is incredibly taxing on your mind and body. Um, but you're right. At the end of the day, it's a game, and you're getting compensated handsomely to do that. So I don't know. I think they deserve a rest. A full 3 months, no, but I think I'm comfortable with where they're at right now. Not that my
Yeah.
opinion means anything, but
Hopefully they still. I guess the question is, do they even get like a few weeks after the Club World Cup and before like the international
uh,
tours?
probably not. I mean, you might get a week and then you're back in training.
Yeah, that's tough. Okay, well, we'll see where that goes. I don't really know what the end game of that is. I'm kind of excited for the Club World Cup. I don't want a bunch of injuries at the same time. I guess we'll just sort of see how it goes. Next up, we got the Bayern managerial search. So I don't want to call this becoming farcical. It is becoming slightly silly at this point. So the newest scuttlebutt, anyway. And granted, we should keep in mind that this is these are typically reports. These aren't like fully validated, legitimized news events. But the latest scuttlebutt is that Crystal Palace has denied a bid from Bayern Munich to hire their manager, Oliver Glasner, who they just hired in February. He came over. I think his most recent gig was at Frankfurt. Bayern supposedly offered 18 million euros for his services, which is kind of an eye-popping number for a manager, especially one that they hired a couple months ago. But then the story went on to say that Crystal Palace value him at 100 million for a manager. And I mean, number one, keep in mind, if you look at his results, he might be worth it because Palace has been absolutely killing it. But at the same time, 100 million for a manager, I mean, come on, let's
Let's get serious. Yeah, there's only a handful of players in the world that are worth 100 million, let alone a manager. I would also, I'm curious as to like, do Bayern just see like new shiny toys and say, "Ooh, I want that one"? Because they, we've seen them for decades do that with players.
Yeah.
Very short windows of quality, and they'll buy them up like that because they can, and they have the purse to. But offering 18 million for a manager that it is more than just a new manager bump, by the way. Like he has kind of transformed what Palace are all about right now, but that is a manager of a bottom half of the table team in the Prem. And I think it's equally funny that one, they offered 18 mil, and two, that Palace rejected it. They must see something in him being Palace. They must see a future with him because you sell a lot of players for 18 mil if you're Crystal Palace.
That's true. I mean, based on his results so far, I kind of understand where they're coming from. The other layers of silliness here are all the names that have been floated as Bayern, potentially being interested and them not being interested. That includes a list of Xabi Alonso, who's now going back to Barcelona, Julian Nagelsmann, who it sounds like kind of used Bayern to get more pay from the German national team, Unai Emery, who apparently is sticking with Aston Villa, and then Ralf Rangnick, who is staying with the Austrian national team. I mean, and now Bayern apparently is in talks to bring Hansi Flick back. So it's just like we have to take it all with a grain of salt. We don't know how much veracity to sort of assign to all of these names, but usually where there's smoke, there's some fire in this type of thing. And that's a lot of names for one of the, the primo jobs in the industry and in the world. So I don't know. We'll see. Well, go for it.
Ten Hag's going to have a job in a couple months. Let's your a kind of consensus best team in the league, not barred Bayer Leverkusen and Borussia Dortmund. I know those are Leverkusen's on their historic run, but like Bayern are Bayern, and Ten Hag's success at Ajax was because he had the best crop of players in that league. So bring in Ten Hag, let him coast, let him just enjoy the spoils of the pocketbook that is Bayern Munich. I think that's a lovely fit.
Yeah, we did talk about that the coach swap between United and Bayern, with sending Ten Hag to Bayern and sending Tuchel to United. I'm 100% on board with it.
I can see it.
I guess we'll see if there's. I mean, there's no way that's happening. Let's be honest. Moving on, though, we're actually going to stay on the coaching carousel. Canada, the Canadian men's national team hired. This is within the last hour or two. Jesse Marsch is the new coach of the Canadian men's national team. Are we rooting for him to do well at this point? I mean, like, Canada isn't Mexico, right? So I can only speak for myself, but I kind of root for Canada to do well. I don't really see them as like this hated rival, even though there was that time after they beat us in qualifying where the Canadians really started to talk a lot of shit. And I started to be like, okay, all right, I guess you can be our rival now. I'll actually be actively rooting against you. But then we got to the World Cup and I was like rooting for them. They didn't do anything, obviously, but I was rooting for them again. So for me, it doesn't feel like it's a different thing than US Mexico. Are you rooting for Jesse Marsch to succeed with Canada?
Yeah, I am. For the same reasons that you said, that they're not a direct rival. We don't have a relationship with them like we do Mexico. If we're ever going head to head, there's no questions about that. But I think in a vacuum, I am going to support any CONCACAF team, including Jesse Marsch. Like I want managerial success for him. He's been good as a pundit, but I feel like he's better suited on the touchline. Love some of the Canadian players that they have. Tajon Buchanan is so exciting. Of course, Alphonso Davies. Like I'm a fan of where Canada is, and I'm not threatened by them. So the short answer is yes, we are rooting for their success.
Now, one more question on this same front here. If Jesse Marsch does succeed with a Canadian national team, and actually, if you think about it, it seems like he might be a better fit for a team like Canada, where they're probably not going to have as much of the ball as a team like the US, and they're probably, especially when they get up against higher teams, they're going to be doing counterattacks, right? I mean, that's going to be their bread and butter. It seems like he might be an okay fit tactically there. If he does succeed with Canada, would that make him more attractive as a future candidate for coaching the U.S. men's national team, or at that point would it feel a little like dating your slightly uglier friend's ex?
Yeah, I don't think you can go from coaching the Canadian national team to the American national team. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's like getting traded within your conference in American sports, or like coaching somebody that's also like in your conference in college football. I don't know. That's kind of taboo for me. What does success look like for him though? When you say, succeeds with the Canadian national team, is that gets them playing beautiful football? Is that gets them to qualify for a World Cup? What does that look like? How do you define that?
That's a good question. I think it's all about Copa America, right? So they're
Yeah.
bringing him in to coach Copa America. I assume getting Canada out of the group, that would have to be considered a success.
Yeah.
You
With the
know,
talent pool that they have right now, I think it would be.
I mean, they're obviously, we've played them numerous times lately, and they're decent competition. But getting out of the group in Copa America, that would be a success, I think. And also, it's interesting, kind of interesting timing. They're bringing him in right now, just a couple weeks. I mean, what are we? However many weeks before the tournament starts. It's kind of like you got this plausible deniability in terms of like who's at fault. Like Jesse Marsch can say, "Well, listen, I came in, I hadn't seen
I took
these
over the
guys."
team with a couple weeks.
Right. This
Right.
ain't on me. And Canada can do the same thing. Like we just got a coach, like a couple weeks ago. So it's kind of an interesting situation.
One other interesting detail about this appointment is his official title will be the MLS Canada men's national team coach because of philanthropic donations from MLS owners.
Hmm.
They're essentially sponsoring a coach appointment. They're sponsoring his title, which is really, really strange. I don't, is there nothing left to sponsor in the soccer world that you just need to like throw your title and kind of mark your territory wherever you can? Like, that's just a really weird and unnatural integration and kind of flag in the ground that says like, oh, we helped appoint him to this.
That's a
That's his
weird
official title.
situation.
MLS
Yeah.
Canada men's national team.
That's very weird. I do know that what do they call it? Canada Soccer or Soccer Canada, the USSF equivalent in Canada are dead broke. Like they are having
Yes. Yeah.
huge financial problems. So if MLS is willing to throw them some money, they're like, "Yep, whatever. We'll take whatever you got for us." 10,000. Yep, we'll change the name of our. I don't know. That is very strange. But I was looking up the Canadian group for the Copa America. They got Argentina. So we got Messi versus Marsch in the group stage, Peru and Chile. So listen, there are no easy groups
Tough,
in
tough.
Copa
If you
America.
could sponsor, if you could throw $50 at any player or coach appointment in the world, whether it's like the Sam's Army Barcelona right back, what would you want to sponsor? What would you want your name attached to?
Oh boy. Well, it'd have to be. Oh goodness.
I know
It'd
it's a
have
heavy
to.
question.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what? How do I want to define? My legacy or my outlook on what I want from the world. Do I want to be an underdog? Do I want to be like a winner? Do I want to be? Hmm. That might have to be a weekly what if. We might have to
We can save that for next week.
we
Yeah.
have to save this for that's a great question. Well, that'll be our segue right into weekly what if time. So if, as I said, this is the greatest game never played. If you could watch two teams from any time in history play against one another, who are you picking and who wins?
Um, Club or international?
All of the above.
Oh God. This question reminds me of, I don't know if you played these, but the old original FIFA games where they would have best 11 against like your world 11, which is like the legends of the game against the current best 11 in the team or in the world. And that's kind of what this question reminds me of. I think I think it would be Pep's Barcelona against I don't want to say Pep City.
I know. I was wondering if that's where you were going
Like
with
that'd be
this.
fun. I think I gotta go older. I'll go with like Pep's Barcelona against the Invincibles.
Oh, that's where I thought you were gonna go even older, like one of those Milan teams,
Like one
like
of the
some
legendary defenses of Milan.
yeah, some sort
No,
of
I
defensive
thought
team.
about it. That like '86 Milan team. No. Yeah, I'm gonna go Pep's Barcelona against the Invincibles Arsenal.
Okay, all right.
Who wins?
Who wins? So yeah, who you got winning? Unbiased.
I can't say the Invincibles lose because I think it ends in a draw. I know it's a boring answer, but I think it ends in a 2-2 draw.
Oh, I think Pep's guys tear you to shreds. I think they absolutely murder you
Tears
guys.
to shreds.
Like,
Uh,
I know that's maybe being a little bit of an exaggeration. Those Pep
Listen, if there's
teams.
one team that can pull a draw from any result,
True.
it's that one.
Fair point. Fair point. Those Pep teams would just scare the shit out of me. I remember whichever year it was when they played United in the Champions League final, just how much they completely annihilated and emasculated that United team. It was just like men against boys. I'm gonna take it in a different direction. I'm gonna go. It's good because it'd be a good game. Not necessarily the best game in the world, but it's going to be a good game, and it also would settle a whole lot of debates. I would actually like to see the U.S. men's national team from 2002 play the team from 2026 and
Hmm.
see who wins that game. Who would win?
Yeah, what's give me a final score prediction.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an optimist, and I have big plans for the future. I have to say 2026, but I know that 2002 team would just they knew their way around the field.
Some dogs,
They got some
and
dogs on
they
that team.
had they felt more competitive. I don't know why I feel that way. I mean, I was 8 years old in 2002, but like I've watched full games of that World Cup. That 2002 team had something in the water, and they were all on the same page. I like I like that shout from you. Do you think
Yeah,
2026 wins?
it might be me being sort of the eternal optimist that I am, but I know that they would have sort of more techers, more on the ball talent, and all this sort of stuff. Whether they could actually, and my hope is that by the time 2026 rolls around, this team will, they'll have a little bit more sort of experience. I mean, they definitely will have that, but hopefully they'll have a little bit more of dog in them, and that sort of, these guys are playing in Europe. They're playing on the biggest stage. I really do think that they come 2026, they will have been playing together for however many years. I'm gonna go 2026. I don't. It's not like one of those things where I'd like stand on business or whatever about it, because like I think that 2002 team was incredible, and should it be Germany, and who knows what would happen then. But yeah, I'm gonna go 2026 and say that out of eternal optimism, because that's how I live my life. Okay. We'll move on to the Premier League. So this will be a quick roundup of the weekend that was, because honestly, things are they're starting to get wrapped up, right? There's just not that much going on in terms of meaningful games at this point. But the ones that stood out, I'll give you four, and you can tell me which one you found most interesting, if any of those four, or something else. Manchester United, Arsenal, obviously an important game, not the most exhilarating game. I thought, as I told you before we got on, I thought Arsenal was going to kind of give them a bit of a beat down in the game, but United kept it close. If not for Casemiro, it might have been 0-0.
He
that
looks
guy,
checked out.
that guy is so checked out at this point. It's incredible. But wait, let me give you the other game. So Arsenal outlasting United 1-0 on the road. That's not nothing. Aston Villa 3-3 with Liverpool on Monday. That game just finished up. That was a hell of a game. Newcastle Brighton 1-1, and then Forest and Chelsea, another barn burner, but Chelsea pulled it out 3-2 on the road. So of those games, or any of the other ones, what stood out to you as most interesting?
I'm most qualified to talk about the Arsenal game, so I will. I liked the way we played. I didn't love the way we played. I think given the circumstance and what United tried to do, which was take our possession away and take us out of the flow out of the game for us. I think we did all right. I thought we defended really well. I don't think they had any meaningful chances apart from maybe one or two. Trossard is an absolute gem. I don't think we are where we are in this season without him.
Yeah.
Like, truly, some of the goals that he's scored, it's not just the number, it's the circumstance that he scores these goals in. And you look back and you're just like, God damn, if not for him, I mean, he's the difference between like probably 12 points this season. I think that one player has made 12 points of difference in the table. I like him coming off the bench more than I do him starting as well. But he's played himself into that starting role with now Martinelli coming off the bench, which is, I don't know. We'll see what that looks like more next season. I think Martinelli will take that starting role back, but I hope Leandro Trossard is part of this team for a long time to come. Kai Havertz looks great. His situational awareness, I know I'm really kind of cherry picking at little traits and individual plays, but his awareness to be as far forward as he was when he noticed Casemiro was just kind of lagging back towards the goal, he created that goal. And he's taken a lot of shit, some of it rightfully so, a lot of it not this season, but Kai Havertz is an excellent ball player, and I'm very happy he's on our team. What else to say about that game? Onana made some phenomenal saves. Our defense is the best in the league. If you had to name a best 11 for the Premier League, the two center backs should be wearing red and white. Name me someone else better than Gabriel and William Saliba. Go ahead.
Van.
Nope. Incorrect.
Nope.
Incorrect. Nope. He's exciting. He's exciting, and he holds that record for the fastest sprint in the league. Sick. That's cool. We have 18 clean sheets.
Your defense is legit. There's no doubt. That's what I should have known.
Right. Of being able to start that center back pairing for as many games as we have is just, I mean, you can't pay for a luxury like that. Their health and their consistency has been one of the main reasons that we're even in a title race right now. So I'm singing a lot of our praises. I think we could create more chances going forward. I think we looked a little stale. We try to attack that right side far more than we do the left. But overall, I like where we're at. We're giving ourselves the best chance that we can to win this title race, and that's kind of all we can ask for.
Yeah. We'll get into that in just a moment. Some of those other games, Villa, Liverpool, like that was one of those games where it mattered more to Villa, obviously, because they're trying to lock down that fourth spot. But Liverpool still have so many weapons going forward. Villa still have some holes at the back, clearly. But just what a fun game that was.
You don't see many oopsies from Dibu Martinez there.
Yeah, that was you don't see that often at all. I mean, it did deflect off his defender, so you didn't see that coming, but still, I mean, it hit him right in the hands. You got to catch that and not throw it into your goal, which is what he ended up doing. Newcastle Brighton, I was just dead wrong in this game. I thought there was going to be a million goals. It ended up being 1-1. There could have been a lot more. I was heartbroken just based on the number of goals scored. Mentioned Forest Chelsea. Listen, Chelsea's gotten back on track. We'll get into this when the permutations come along. But they could mathematically anyway, I think jump Spurs. They could finish ahead of Spurs in terms of like where they finish in the table at this point, which is I would say a little bit of I was surprised when I saw that. I could have crunched the numbers wrong because listen, I do that a lot. But right now they're on 57 points, and they have 2 games left. We are on 63 points with 2 games left. So you could do the math. They could catch us. And the points goal differential, they are 12 and we are 12. So if they win twice and we lose twice, they will be ahead of us. So all that shit we've talked about Chelsea, and they could end up finishing ahead of Spurs. That would be something. That would be disappointing, but we'll deal with that if it actually happens. We're not quite there yet. As we said, Crystal Palace, Jesus, this team is just flying. Eze and Olise and
What do you, if you're Palace, what do you do with Eze and Elise? You know,
I
do you
know
keep
we
for another
kind of
season?
talked about it last week. Like they're gonna get offers for them that's gonna give them the kind of money that they'd be able to essentially just restock the pipeline. But man, they're so good and they're so good together.
If they're denying $18 million bids for their head coach, I feel like that means they have confidence in what they currently have and they want to build upon that. So unless they get an offer they truly can't refuse, I see both Elise and Eze wearing red and blue and white next season.
I hope so. I
I
mean,
think I hope so.
Palace, Palace has been through some years where you're kind of like, ooh, this is dire, dreary stuff. But man, this Palace team with these weapons, they are legit. Other games, I'm not City, Spurs sort of we hung on, found a way to win against Burnley. I mean, yay. I don't even know what to say.
Found a way to win against Burnley is not the attitude that I need for you guys going into Tuesday. Okay? I
That's
need something
I'm
far
completely
more.
fine with that.
Oh, fucking hell. This whole fan base that's like, oh, we don't want to hand Arsenal the league. Losers. You're all fucking losers if
We
you're
are, we are, and we're not even there yet. I'm gonna wear that. I'm gonna own that. I'm gonna revel in that. That's all I got this season.
go
God
get a
damn
Champions League spot. Go fight for fourth.
it.
Go do something with your lives, huh?
Thankfully that Liverpool and Liverpool Villa game today actually probably mattered the most for Tottenham, because the fact
Yeah.
that Villa got a point out of that game means that we are essentially dead and buried going for fourth here. I mean, we already were, I think, but anyway, it was. I was glad that Villa got that point, because now, like, well, whatever. We'll talk about that in just a second, which we already know exactly where we stand on that, to be honest. In fact, we could just go there now. Like the rest of the games, it's just like there were some other interesting games, but like it doesn't matter. These games just don't matter at this point. There's like a handful of games left in the season that actually matter. So let's move on and look at what we're looking at. And that is the only one that matters at the moment is tomorrow, Tuesday, when Manchester City visit Tottenham Hotspur. And this is a game that obviously, or a matchup where Spurs have done I would say shockingly well over the years. And especially when City come to, whatever we're calling the stadium now, when they come to Spurs, like it's, they have trouble. But having said that, this is a different animal. I mean, this game, like I saw the quote from Ange talking about how there's absolutely no way they're laying down, and like he doesn't understand how Spurs fans can feel any differently. I mean, I know he has to say that, but he's smart enough to understand what exactly is going on here.
He understands it, but also like
He can't
can't
he
ask
can't
the
even
question
entertain
like
it.
that.
Right.
No,
In his
you
brain, he
should.
can't even entertain, like, rolling over or playing a weekend 11 or anything. Like I would be okay, as I said last week, I would be okay with him playing the U15s. Just throw him out there, let him get fucking murdered 109 to 0. I'm okay with that. He's not going to do that. He's going to play his best 11. Hopefully Emerson Royale is in it. Hopefully Højbjerg is in it. I'm trying to think who else.
Are you saying hopefully because you want to see the best 11 out there, or are you
No,
saying
no, because I think that they are not in our best 11, but they could be sort of rationally, they could be rationalized as
yep.
they would be part of that best 11, but they're not. Like Emerson Royal has been terrible lately. I just, long story short, I just think that they are going to roll over us, and I don't think that has anything to do really with whether we're gonna, like, a mindset thing. I just think they're a much better team, and the way we've been playing lately is just like we're out of gas, like mentally, physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. I don't know what it is, but this team has run out of gas. As I said, we had to find a way to beat Burnley at home this weekend. I mean, we had to scratch and claw, and it was not pretty. This team just doesn't have it. whatever it was that we had for the first however many months of the season, we do not have that. And I just don't think that this team has what it takes to stick with a team like City, who has all that they have to play for. And, they don't have Champions League to worry about at this point. Like, this is their one and only focus. If they were in the Champions League right now, I would say, okay, maybe there's, they could just sort of turn off for 10, 15 minutes and some things could happen. This is it. This is their whole, focus. And I just think that they're a better team, and they're going to come in and they're probably going to score a lot of goals. I don't know if, this is, maybe we'll find a goal. So I could see us losing by 3 or 4 goals in this game.
I disagree. This is one of the greatest Spurs teams in recent memory. I think Heung-min Son is going to have minimum hat trick with maybe assist as well. James Maddison, banger of a free kick incoming. Mickey Van de Ven, like you said, center back of the year, I would call
Best
him.
11. Best 11.
Best
Yeah.
11. Yep. Udogie, if healthy, like phenomenal player. I really think you guys step into Tuesday. You probably concede once, but I think you end up winning 3-1. I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to put that energy out there because that's what I need from you. I need to balance your incredible pessimism for your own side. Your own side. This is your own blood that you're saying we just don't have it. We look tired, we look exhausted. No, you guys have got this. You really do.
If we came away with some sort of result in this game, it would be the most, we talked about all the Spursy losses. This would be the most Spursy thing.
Win of all time.
Yes, it would be the Spursiest moment in history. If we somehow, this team that is just out of gas, they got nothing left, they'd find a way, they'd find deep in their soul to find a way to let Arsenal win the fucking title. Like, that would be the Spursiest. It doesn't get Spursier than that. And so that is the one thing I'm afraid of.
I don't think you have anybody in the side right now that hates Arsenal like your fan base hates Arsenal.
Yes, I 100% agree.
I don't think you have anybody that would ever perform poorly just to stick it to Arsenal. And I don't think that's in the tactics for the side either. But I would love to see you guys really get up for this game. Define yourself against a City team that for some reason finds their stride towards the end of the season. Fuck you, Pep, for that. I don't know why. Every season he does this. They looked better now or better this weekend than they did in, call it, like December. And I know, Holland and Kevin and all them are healthy now, but like, why do Pep's teams find their form towards the end of the season? Why is that? What special sauce does he have to make a team do that?
How can you that's part of what makes a great manager great, right? It's not only sort of getting everybody up for every single game and all that stuff. It's maybe knowing when to rest guys, to give them some time off, whether physically or at least mentally, while also keeping them sort of focused on the season at hand and locked in. Like, that's one of those things where everybody always talks about, like, the greatness of coaches being like the X's and O's and the tactics and that sort of stuff. When that's probably it's indisputably a big part of it. But handling people and handling egos and sort of managing people's, sort of gas tanks or whatever, that is a huge part of it. And Pep doesn't get much credit for it. I don't think any manager does. But like, he obviously knows exactly how to do, how to get the most out of everybody. Because when they come down the stretch, they're just a train. And right now they absolutely are. And right now we're a little cow on the tracks. And we're about to get run the F over, especially with all the injuries that, you mentioned Udogie. He's out. I mean, he's gone. I think Timo's hurt at this point. Richarlison is definitely hurt. Trying to think of who else might be in the 11 that won't otherwise. I don't know. I just hope Royal's out there. If Oliver Skip is, fine. I'd rather see Royal because he's just been so bad. But yeah, we'll see. I really, the only thing that scares me is the narrative, and the narrative of like the Spursiness of it. That just at the back of my mind. But then I got the next level layer where if we somehow bottle this by actually getting a result, then I just have to put all my heart and soul into Arsenal bottling it back to us with the final game playing Everton.
Oh, if you leave that
Unfortunately,
door open for us, there's no
listen,
fun.
you put that 3-1 Spurs energy into the universe. I'm putting this in the goddamn universe. What
Oh,
stinks about that narrative, as fun as it would have been, it would have been so much better if Everton actually had something to play for in the final week. But they've already, despite all the point deductions, which I thought was going to actually keep them down in the relegation battle, they've, persevered and struggled and pushed past that to get themselves out of it, despite however many points they've lost. So credit to them for that. And the fact they got nothing to play for in the final week, I mean, I don't even think Arsenal is capable of battling that, even in my, wildest dreams.
you don't have those kind of reverse jinx powers.
I know. I actually meant that, but I hope it was, involved. It brought a little reverse jinx energy there. So now the result of Tuesday's game obviously is important for the rest of how this is going to go, right? So there's some other midweek games. We got Brighton and Chelsea, which is important in the sense that Chelsea could actually jump Spurs, as we were talking about. So if Tottenham lose to Manchester City and Chelsea win that game against Brighton, then the final game is, and this is interesting, when Chelsea hosts Bournemouth on what are they calling it? Decision Sunday, whatever, the final Sunday. And Tottenham actually, so we play Sheffield United. So I was thinking we played somebody else. We play Sheffield United. I mean, God, if we lose that game, we deserve to we deserve to finish behind Chelsea. Other games, Manchester United hosts Newcastle on Wednesday. That's important in the sense that Newcastle could still jump us as well. Their goal difference, so they're on 57 points with Chelsea right now, but their goal differential is far better. So if they do win the two games they have remaining and Spurs lose the two, there's almost, it's almost for sure that Newcastle, well, I think mathematically it's 100% that they would jump us. Not that, I mean, we're talking about Europa qualifying or whatever, or Europa automatic, I think at that point. Who knows? Anyway, then when we get to the weekend, the games that matter, and this is assuming, well, I guess it doesn't matter. Arsenal and City are the games that everybody's going to be watching. Manchester City hosts West Ham. West Ham will have, they're shooting for Europe, but I don't, well, they have an outside shot. So they're 52 points right now, which is, two points behind United. So yeah, I think they could jump United into 8th. That might be enough for a Conference League spot. Not exactly sure how they're doing it this year. But the other game is Arsenal. And who do you guys play? Oh, Everton, as I said. So those are the games obviously at the top of the table that matter. Then there's a whole bunch of middle of the road games that either matter not at all or just barely for in terms of where they finish in the table. Obviously people talk about Liverpool's last game with Klopp. He's at home, it'll be his last game as a coach, so that'll be a big thing. But in terms of like what matters, meaningfulness, it doesn't really. The only game that technically, mathematically matters is Nottingham Forest visiting Burnley, and the other one, who's trying to catch them? I think Luton is, yes, and so Luton is 3 points behind them, and they play Fulham at home, and so Luton Town needs to win that game, obviously, and then they would be level with Nottingham Forest if Nottingham Forest loses to Burnley. But the big thing there is that Nottingham Forest have a 12 goal difference, 12 goal, benefit. They're 12 goals better on goal differential. So there's almost no chance that the relegation battle is still alive. It's basically on life support. And there we go. Really just matters what happens on Tuesday. And then Tuesday, we go from there till Sunday. Just Spurs,
Come on, you Spurs.
don't
Come
do that. Just don't do
on.
that. Don't freaking do that. All right. we'll move on to around the world, where the big talking point. I wish we had Terrence here to give us a little bit more, but the MLS punch heard round, the MLS. It was not seen, but the who was it? It was Toronto FC and NYCFC. They played for the second time this season. This one was in Toronto. I think New York won this game. They also won the game in March, which was in New York. Well, after this game, there was, a fracas, a little kerfuffle at midfield as the teams were exchanging, good games or whatever. And nobody really sort of knew what was going on. It was like it was clearly like a couple guys were going after each other. Sean Johnson, you could just tell where he was because he's in this bright yellow, goalkeeper outfit, and he was going after somebody. Somebody, did something to him. You couldn't exactly see. I saw some replays. It looked like maybe it was a headbutt. Like there was talk of a headbutt maybe being involved. I don't know. I was trying to remember the guy's name that was involved. It was center back Strahinja Tanasiewicz.
There you go.
May have screwed that up, but anyway, it was two big dudes. They were kind of going after each other. There was it was something going on, and we didn't really understand why it had happened and whatever else. Then it turned out that in the post-game news conference or post-game presser, Jonathan Osorio, midfielder for Toronto, and John Herdman, the coach of Toronto, they leveled some kind of heavy accusations. They basically said that Nick Cushing, the coach of NYCFC, had thrown a punch at a player, a 19-year-old player specifically, of Toronto FC at the last game in March in the tunnel at halftime. So this kind of came out of like nowhere. Everybody's like, wait, what? Like, how does that, how does this happen and nobody really know about it? So that was kind of weird. Then Nick Cushing came back and said categorically denied it. This did not happen. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. That is a pretty heavy accusation to be thrown around that a coach punched a player, in the tunnel. I'm surprised if that is true, and God knows whether it is. But if it is, I would have thought that we would have heard something about that before now.
Yeah, it's
And
not an accusation that comes out months later. Like
yeah,
that, if a coach throws a punch at one of your players, you go directly to the necessary channels for that. You don't kind of casually drop that in as a reason months later. I don't know. It feels, again, who knows, but yeah.
pretty much. And listen, Toronto had lost both these games. Maybe there was some sort of butthurtness kind of involved in this. I don't know exactly. What I do know is I love this for MLS. Like the league itself,
Yeah.
every time one of these sort of situations arises, I always say the same thing. They need more of these sort of, actual organic, rivalry sort of fights,
Hatred.
whatever. Like
Hatred.
this
We
is
need more hatred in the league.
yes, there needs to be more animosity, but not just like sort of
Animosity is a better word for it, not hatred.
yeah, animosity, right? But there needs to be organic. It doesn't. I don't like the nobody likes the manufactured pregame things that a lot of the clubs are doing now, and like maybe they'll catch on eventually. Right now, it kind of feels forced and not inauthentic. Like the organic animosity of this now between Toronto FC and NYCFC is exactly what the league needs more of, and hopefully they play into it and sort of play it up. I don't know if they play again. They played twice already, so I guess they might not, but I don't know.
Rivalries take years to develop. They don't just kind of happen overnight, and they definitely don't happen because two teams' social media teams wanted to pit them against each other. So this is good. This is good for the league.
100%. I will. Let's see. Sorry, I had to let somebody in my front door there. Thanks, Mr. Delivery Man. The other thing is the playoff championship, which just got started this past weekend, which, as everybody who watched knows, was a bit of a snoozer. We had 180 minutes of absolute nothingness with the just the highest pressure imaginable, and yet nothing happened. So it was kind of an interesting dichotomy there. So Norwich City and Leeds United fought to 0-0 on Sunday, and West Brom Southampton did the same on Sunday. So now they will be playing each other at the other team, obviously. So Leeds will be hosting Norwich on Thursday. Southampton will be hosting West Brom on Friday. Those games, again, will go 0-0 going into the second leg. So all to play for, which I guess is a good thing. And, those teams, the second leg will be way different than the first leg. So come on, you Leeds. Come on, Leeds. Let's do this. Shout out TJ and Larry. And then we'll move on to stoppage time. Okay, so here's the big mea culpa of the week. Ivan Toney's best bets, where we start overtrain. Oh my goodness, mama mia. The overtrain, I don't know what happened to us last week. We ran aground in a big, bad, horrible, life-threatening manner. We went 1-4 on the week. Not great. That's the worst week we've had. In fact, I probably should have seen this coming because we've had so many winning weeks in a row, including some that were like 4-1 and like, I should have seen this coming. But man, I got just decimated. Just decimated. I'm glad my wife doesn't listen to this podcast because she'd be like, "How much money did you lose?" Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You don't want to know. But here's the thing: it's just extra motivation, extra incentive to get back on that pony or train and get back on the tracks and win us some more money. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. Overtrain, 5-a-side, best bets of the week. All right, so we will start on Wednesday with the Allsvenskan, and I wanted to get a Swedish game in there because I needed to pronounce the name somewhat better than I did last week. So Halmstads and Häcken play on Wednesday. That game is going over 2.5. I feel it in my bones. Thursday, we're digging deep. Not a lot of action on Thursday this week, but we do have some games in the UAE Pro League, which I've actually been following kind of closely lately. A lot of goals. So we are expecting Al Ain, who just played in the Asian Champions League final. They're going to play against Al Ittihad Kamba on Thursday, and I think Al Ain will probably just carry it, and I'm calling maybe 3-4 goals from them alone. If Al Ittihad Kamba wants to throw one in there, all the better. Friday, we got Roda and NAC Breda. This is the Eredivisie playoff, the second leg. So you remember Roda was the team where the announcer, in-game stadium announcer said, "Congrats, we're going up." Nope, you weren't, because Groningen scored a late goal. And then Roda played Groningen this past weekend. Groningen won. So Roda got knocked down into the playoff, where they already played the first leg of this Eredivisie playoff against NAC Breda. They lost 3-1. So now they're going, I believe, back to Roda. I hope I'm getting that right, but I think they're going back to Roda on Friday. And that game will, so 3-1 going back to Roda, if I'm not mistaken. They have to go for it. I mean, obviously it's sort of a one-off thing. And so I'm sure there's going to be goals. Who scores them? Yeah, I have no idea, to be honest. It is going back to Roda. I was right on that. So NEC Breda, Roda on Friday. Saturday, we have Australian League. So they're in the playoffs now. We're in the second leg. We got the Central Coast Mariners playing against Sydney FC. That's the second leg. They're going back to Central Coast Mariners. They're up 2-1. So that will be, they have to go for it. Sydney FC have to go for it. And I assume Central Coast Mariners will probably throw a couple goals on them as well. So Central Coast Mariners, Sydney on Saturday. And then finally, we'll finish up in Belgium on Sunday, where Anderlecht and Club Bruges play one another. And this is an early game, 6:30 kickoff here in Central Time. These are the two teams that are on top of the playoff championship group. The Belgian league plays a structure where they split off into the playoff championship group, the playoff ECL group, and playoff relegation group. This is the top of the top. Anderlecht will be playing. Anderlecht will be Club Bruges, right? Did I get that right? Yeah, Club Bruges and Anderlecht on Sunday. Sorry, there's Circle Bruges. I was getting all sort of mixed up, but Anderlecht hosting Club Bruges. They are at the top of the playoff group. Okay, that was a mouthful. Hopefully we get the train back on the tracks. That was a tough week. I apologize to everybody. We'll be better. Let's go get that money. Okay, Mitch, what do you got for us on Ivan Toney's best bet of the week?
I got three that I like. First one comes in the midweek. We just talked about it. It's Leeds Norwich. I like Leeds to win that game outright, meaning they advance to the championship playoff. Leeds look more like a Premier League side than Norwich does. In that first leg, it did end 0-0, like we mentioned, but Leeds were the better side. It created the better chances. They just have better footballers, and they will be at home on Thursday. So I like them money line. I like Atletico Madrid money line on Saturday against Getafe. And I also like both teams to score, Luton Fulham. Luton's been scoring lately, despite their position in the table. They have something to play for. Fulham will concede, but Fulham will score as well. So you put those together, you're at plus 320.
I like it. Listen, Luton, they do. They'll throw
Yeah,
everything at Fulham. Their defense stinks though. So
they
the
do.
fact that they're going forward means that they're going to give up something in the back. I like that call. Maybe I should incorporate that into my best bets. Oh well.
You can
Good
consider
call
it.
on that. Now, this is it's not a every week segment, but if we have any Mitchell Maupay shithousery of the week, now is the time to speak it or forever hold your peace. Do you got any shithousery to highlight here?
You do. Crew goalkeeper Max Stryjek. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but he's a goalkeeper. And when they realized it was a Crew against Doncaster in a League Two playoff, and when he realized that they were going into penalties, he took the Doncaster keeper's water bottle and hurled it into the stands. Because, as we know, most keepers these days keep notes on their water bottle about which penalty takers go which direction. So he took his opposing team's goalkeeper and gave a fan quite a unique souvenir. He ended up saving two penalties, and Crew advanced from that. So you could call it shithousery, you could call it a 200 IQ move, you can call it some combination of both, but they got the result they wanted from it. He saved two penalties, his teammates scored, and Crew are on to the playoffs. So is it a little bit dark arty? Sure, but I endorse it. I think that's brilliant. If you're as a keeper are gonna have notes on your water bottle, I think there should also be like a flip side to that where maybe it gets lost in the stands. Who knows? But that's our Mitchell Maupay shithouser of the week there.
That is, I think that's an award winner right there.
Yeah.
Well played. That is sort of borderline 200 IQ
Yeah,
versus
it's
complete
just it
dark
just
arts.
rides that line. It's very fine, and there's only a handful of players in the world that can really toe that line. But I think he's done it masterfully there.
Well done. Well done. I'm going to give you the award for this one. There are a couple ones that I had that were like, they're kind of shithousery, but not. So like Wayne Rooney calling out a bunch of United players and suggesting that maybe they're milking their injuries and
Oh,
not
I didn't hear
playing in
that.
these games. Yeah, it's just he like pulled the pin on a grenade and threw it in the locker room and like walked away type of thing. He's like, yeah, they'll be back for the FA Cup final at the end of the season, but like they're just sort of slow playing it because they don't want to play these games. That is a hell of a thing to say, and especially when you're not involved and like it's not really going to come
Yeah,
back.
no association with the club anymore. Just
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 throw a
picked
grenade. He
up
just
whatever.
literally
Yeah.
took the pin out of a grenade, threw it in the locker room, and walked away. Other one, again, not exactly shithousery. So I'm not. It's not going to be the award winner. But this guy that I just posted on Instagram about, his name is now escaping me. But he's a player for. He was a player for Barcelona. He got bought by Dinamo Bucharesti.
Oh,
I'm gonna mispronounce it, but Edgar Ie. I mean, it's an I with an E and a little accent on the E. So Edgar I. Anyway, he came, or he was at one point in the Barcelona system. He played in La Masia. I think he bounced around at least for a couple clubs. Now he got signed by a club in Romania, Dinamo Bucharesti, and they are now talking about asking him for a DNA test to make sure that the player that they've been paying to play for them for however many months at this point is in fact Edgar and not his identical twin. They want a DNA test to make sure that the guy that is here is the guy that that they thought they were buying. Imagine how bad you have to be for your team to be like, yeah, you know what, actually we want a DNA test to make sure you're not your less talented like twin brother. Like you got to be absolutely terrible. It's not shithousery necessarily, but it could be. If he sent his brother, that would be, I mean,
What
shithouser
is
of the
the
year.
funnier outcome of this story? The fact either he is that bad and he is who he says he is, and he really just sucks that badly, or the fact that he is willing to, have his twin brother sub in for him and just kind of, I don't know, take holiday. I don't know what the funnier outcome is.
Just tag in and tag. I mean, like now that they're going to ask for a DNA test, like he could just be okay. Well, we got to tag back in. Just they can just go back and forth.
Romanian football, who cares?
Insane. I mean, that was actually probably Goa material, maybe more so than
Yeah.
shithousery, but it was right on the border. So I had to throw that in there. We'll move on. You won this. Neil Maupay's stunt double wins this week's Shithousery of the Week award. Now GOAWs, everyone's favorite segment. We'll close strong here. I'll let you go first. Who do you got for us?
Two shout outs, both positive this week. I know, sorry. One of them being Kevin Sullivan, who signed his homegrown contract for the Philadelphia Union earlier this week. It is rumored to be, the numbers aren't completely disclosed just yet, but it's rumored to be the quote unquote richest homegrown contract in MLS history. The 14-year-old whole family is a hell of a soccer family, and you're going to hear his name quite a bit over the next 4 to 24 years. So be prepared for it. But the kid's a hell of a ball player. Like, he has a lot of hype around him, but he is the real deal. The kid can play. So remember that when you're talking shit about him on the internet as a 15-year-old. And then my other one is Isco. He has played 28 La Liga games this year, and he has won man of the match in 19 of them. That is an incredible clip for Real Betis. I could add that is an incredible clip for a player on the back end of his career. He had a obviously unbelievable run with Madrid back in the day, but he's not done. He still plays at the highest level in Spain, and he seems to be the most valuable player for Real Betis. So, shout out to Isco, man. I think he has kind of gone largely overlooked in a La Liga season that has featured, more about Barcelona and Real Madrid than it has Real Betis. But man, you can't knock that kind of quality. 19 man of the matches in 28 games is absurd.
That's crazy, and it's. I mean, like I don't know if they have a comeback player of the year award or if he fits the category, but like just he was thought of as like a failure, right? Coming out of Real Madrid. He's like, he just couldn't cut it or whatever. Like everybody had high expectations. He didn't live up to them, put it that way. And he's gone to Betis and just been exactly the player that everybody thought he was going to be at Real Madrid. And to have the sort of mental fortitude to, say, okay, well, I didn't make it at the upper crust, but I'm not going to feel like sorry for myself or whatever. He just gone to Betis and just absolutely killed it. That's incredibly commendable.
I think he's a prime example, or just kind of shows that growth in this sport as a player or a coach is not linear, and not everybody follows the same schedule. That some people's strides and primes are when they're 21, and then others are when they're 31. Like, everybody's on a different schedule and different trajectory when it comes to growth within the sport, and obviously everybody has different ceilings. But like, writing players off as failures or busts when they're 24, 25 years old is so fucking tired. And some of the conversation online about young players, particularly young Premier League players, when they maybe have one game that is a step slow, or they're going through a tough run of form, like a player can bounce back and how a player can thrive in just a different situation. Isco is it.
Sure. And you said a 32-year-old. My Goa is actually going to be a 32-year-old as well. So Isco was 31 for most of the season. We just turned 32. So we're going to get to my 32-year-old Goa. But first, a couple honorable mentions. Thomas Frank. So it came out after the game. I don't know if they announced it before the game, but Brentford was playing this weekend. They played on Saturday. It turns out that Thomas Frank's dad had passed away on Friday, the day before. And he, came to the game on Saturday, coached. They ended up with coming up with 2 late goals, They won. It was obviously an emotional thing. And like one of the celebrations, all the players came and just sort of like gave Thomas Frank a huge group hug. And at the time it was like kind of cool, but then like came out afterwards that his dad had just passed away. And wow, I mean, that's a highly emotional moment. Also, honorable mention, John Duran. I never would have sort of pegged him to have the season he's having right now with Aston Villa. And I know he's not like, scoring a million goals, but he came off the bench. He scored, some goals for them over the course of the season. And he scored two coming off, I think he came on in the 70 something minute against Liverpool today, scored two goals. One of them was completely lucky. He got hit with a pass in the thigh and it ended up in the goal. But either way, I mean, shout out to John Duran. When he left Chicago Fire for Aston Villa, I was like, this guy is raw. I mean, he has he's got the tools, but I was not sold. But he's done really well for a young kid, especially to just step into the Premier League the way he's done and acquitted himself quite well. So shout out to John Duran. And then final honorable mention, the Brasiliense team doctor. So this is a team in Serie D. So I think it's the fourth level of Brazilian soccer. The coach of Brasiliense quit at halftime after the owner said some mean words to him or something. So he quit at halftime. And the team doctor, they called him the medic, I assume he's the doctor, stepped in and coached the team in the second half, and they went on to win the game. So shout out to the Brasiliense team medic for stepping up to the plate. But my goal this week, as I said, third 2-year-old, it goes to TJ McConnell. This guy has been absolutely killing it in the playoffs. Like, you could probably do him a better job of explaining it than me. But like the games I've watched, like, he has been awesome every time he's on the court. I know it was kind of a controversy that like the coach wasn't playing him a lot at the end of the games, and these ended up being games that they would lose. But listen, he's played incredibly well. Indiana Pacers are now, I think it's 2-2 with the New York Knicks in the playoffs. I mean, he's just been, when he's been out there, he's been a difference maker. I mean, he's been like defense. He is just a little gremlin. Like, you cannot get him away from you. And then he's been on, he's been setting plays up. And I don't have his stats right offhand, but like he's been playing incredibly well. And I just wanted to give him a shout out because, obviously he's our guy. He's also probably the nicest human being that you could ever meet. So to see somebody like that, and I know that like it's not like he's coming out of nowhere, right? I mean, he's been in the NBA for years, and he's been a vet that people respect as a ball player and all that. But just to see him getting the kind of credit now that maybe I feel like he's probably deserved, whatever, it's cool to see, and I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in the NBA that when they come off the bench, they either provide offense or defense, that there are very specific reasons that you bring these guys off the bench. TJ is the whole package. And I think, like I said, I think I said it to you last week, like you compare his impact on a team and what he's being paid compared to like a Bradley Beal, who we all saw shit the beds in the first round of this playoffs. Like TJ, I'm not that, we want to just compare him because TJ is excellent in his own right, but like, man, he is a winning ball player. The dude makes winning plays every time he's out there. He's the hardest worker out there. He's a smart player. He can get to the hole. He can shoot. He can create offense. He's a dog on defense. Shout out to and knows how to pick a sports team to buy some stake in because leads look good. Like I said, I think they're going.
Hopefully they're bouncing right back up. Yes. Well, so listen, shout out to TJ. Couldn't be a nicer guy to get this type of attention and everything. So shout out to him, and obviously go Pacers. I know that Tyler Terrence won't like me saying that as a lifelong Knicks fan, but listen, sorry, Judas.
The Knicks are getting too big for their britches. I'm done. I don't want this city and their sports fans to experience any more happiness than they need to. Like, I don't want to hear anything about the Rangers. I don't want to hear anything about the Knicks anymore. Fans chanting, "We want Boston" after game one. Fuck you. We will fuck up anybody in that Eastern Conference Finals. If we see the Knicks, it's 6 games. If we see the Pacers, it might go 7.
bravado. I like, for the record, I asked Tyler, I asked Mitch earlier, like, are you gonna have time to like tape today? I know you got a Celtics game. And he's like, oh no, it's just the Cavs.
It's
When do you
just,
want to go?
and I mean, no Donovan Mitchell, no Jared Allen. Like, I almost feel bad. And folks are gonna say that like, oh, Celtics had an easy run to the playoffs, yeah, or the finals. Yeah, we did, but you can only play who's in front of you. So
It's true. And if you're the Spurs, If you're Spurs, hopefully you lose to them. That's all we're saying this week. Tuesday, goddamn it, Tottenham, just don't do that thing that would just ruin everything. Just don't
go
do
out there
that.
and get a win.
Don't
Let's
do
go.
that. Just don't do
Let's
that.
go.
All right, guys. Mitchell, thank you. You're the best. Everybody, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week, bigger, better, faster, stronger, and hopefully having just anointed Manchester City as the 2023-24 Premier League champions. Let's go.